Hi everyone and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Thank you to all our new subscribers. Thank you for helping to grow our community. And if you're new, kindly hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications and do like this particular video so that we can continue to grow. Anyways, today I want us to discuss the reasons as to why I think Liverpool managed to win the 2024-2025 Premier League title, which is their second Premier League title and 20th league title in counting. Equally, Manchester United is, record for 20 Premier League, for 20 league titles as far as the English football is concerned. Now, for starters, let's differentiate between the two. When we say two Premier League titles, do remember that the league was sort of rebranded back in '92 there to make it the Premier League. For those of you that do remember, the league went on to have sponsors like the Barclays Card Premier League back in the early 2000s, and after that partnership ended, the Premier League chose not to have a new naming rights partner, and it stayed as the Premier League. So that's why we keep saying it's two Premier League titles. The first coming in 2019-2020 under Jurgen Klopp, and this is their second. But as far as league titles are concerned historically, then they are now at 20. Manchester United, when it comes to Premier League titles, have the highest with 13. And then in there you have Chelsea, I think with 5, 3 different managers, 3 with Jose Mourinho, one with Carlo Ancelotti, and another with Antonio Conte. So that's the tally. Then you have Man City in there, who have won as many as 6 under Pep Guardiola, and yet they did win other 2, one under Manuel Pellegrini and another under Roberto Mancini. Then Arsenal have 3. So it is Manchester United, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal with 3, all under Arsene Wenger. And then you do have Liverpool with 2. And then you have teams like Leicester City, like Blackburn, that did win it at least once. Anyways, that's the historical background. Whenever we say that Liverpool have only won 2 Premier League titles, that's the context within which we speak. But let's dive straight into what really transpired. When the season started, we all knew Arne Slot, a new manager, replacing arguably the legendary Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. We really did not give him much of the credit, perhaps of the hype that he did deserve, probably because he was coming from the Dutch Eredivisie, where he had won a league title, but then we thought that the Premier League would be another whole new story to handle, would be another whole mountain to climb, especially with the Liverpool side that went on to make no significant signings in the summer transfer window. Their only acquisition being Federico Chiesa, who we all knew was injury prone, and it is no surprise that majority of the time was either on the bench or in the sick bay nursing an injury. Never mind that significantly his biggest contribution, which did not really offer much to Liverpool, was in the cup final of the Carabao when he scored that goal that only turned out to be a mere consolation as Liverpool lost by 2-1 to Newcastle. Then, of course, we do know that between February and March, Liverpool went on to crash out of the Carabao Cup at the finals, the FA Cup, then eventually were knocked out of the UEFA Champions League at the round of 16 at the hands of PSG. So that put all their title hopes to quadruple back to bed. But in the Premier League, Liverpool remained flawless. It is where they made wonders. For those of you that care to remember, in the first months, Liverpool were unbeaten, winning 15 out of 16 games across all competitions. That's how Arne Slot announced himself to the England stage, to the Premier League stage, because they were winning games left, right, and center, and not just edging them out, but beating teams thoroughly well. For the first time this season, we did see Liverpool complete a double against Man City, beating them at the Etihad Stadium by 2-0, something that we did not see for Jurgen Klopp's era. Never mind all the competition, all the rivalry that they managed to build between him and Pep Guardiola. Jurgen Klopp never guided Liverpool to a victory at the Etihad Stadium, and yet here we were with Arne Slot managing a double against Man City. Now, it's easy to make the justification or to argue that the Man City that Liverpool did beat home and away may perhaps have been different from what it was maybe last season, a season ago, and all that kind of thing. But let's face it, how many players have changed in that Man City side between last season and this season? Not quite many. But Savinho, majority of those players have been at City before, including an Ilkay Gundogan, who was returning to the club after a one-year spell at Barcelona. So really, for me, Liverpool were arguably the strongest side. They were the team to beat. But like I said, how did they do it? Consistency. They were consistent. They won their games. Up until this stage, after 34 games played, Liverpool have only lost 2 games. Their first loss coming in September, losing to Nottingham Forest at Anfield by a goal to nil. That goal scored by Callum Hudson-Odoi. Before that, they had gone 7 months unbeaten. They had gone almost 7 months unbeaten at Anfield across all competitions. Of course, that dates to as far back as last season as well. Then, their second loss in the season came in early April when they lost by 3 goals to 2 against Fulham. So, if that's not consistency, then I do not know what is. Up until this stage in the season, they've managed only 7 draws. Now, when you look at a second place team, which is Arsenal, they have as many as 13 draws, nearly almost double what Liverpool have managed to draw. Now, that clearly tells you of the ambition that Liverpool had on having the knack to win games, not to draw them out, but to win games. And some of their draws, by the way, have come against worthy opponents. For example, a draw against Arsenal, a draw against Manchester United, one of their rivalries. Never mind that they did beat Manchester United, I think by 3 goals to nil early on in the season. So all that cannot be taken away. There was initially an argument that Arne Slot had the easy games when he started out at Liverpool. Well, we may call them easy, but we may not all see it that way. I can say they were winnable games. That's true. But against those teams, it is why other teams have failed to compete with Liverpool. Let's face it, Arsenal, in as few as the losses they've managed to record, one of those losses came against West Ham, where West Ham in the table as down as 17th. That's the side that Arsenal lost to in early February by a goal to nil. So you're competing for a league title, and you're saying Arne Slot had it easy for the start of his career at Liverpool, and yet you are losing to a team like West Ham, who are almost battling relegation all throughout the campaign. So really, it just doesn't. That argument holds as little water as it can hold. Among their draws still was a 2-2 draw at Goodson Park at Everton. But then, Everton themselves needed a very late equalizer through James Tarkowski to secure a point in that very fixture. So Liverpool have always been out 2 wins. Now, so for me, that's one of the reasons. Consistency. Regardless of the fixture schedule of how it developed across the entire season, that wasn't for Arne Slot to set out. He did not ask for that kind of fixture, whether you think it was easy on him or not. That, for me, does not hold water. It does not stand. Secondly, he inherited a very good squad. And yes, Liverpool fans were anguished. We made the analysis that they had not signed new players. Of course, we all knew about their interest in signing a holding midfielder, and they had their eyes out for Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad, which did not lead to any fruition as the player ended up staying with Real Sociedad, managing to only sign Federico Chiesa. And yet I think they still had a very decent squad. Why do I think it was a very decent squad? Well, because Arne Slot comes in. Let's not forget, Liverpool last season did compete for the Premier League title. Yes, they may have squandered that opportunity when they went to West Ham in February and sort of, things didn't go their way. I think they squandered the lead. I stand to be corrected on that, but it was not a good game. At that game in which I think Mohamed Salah is withdrawn or substituted, and he has a bit of a spat with manager Jurgen Klopp. All signs pointing that he did not want to stay at Liverpool and that kind of thing, and then Saudi clubs kept calling. But that all notwithstanding, Jurgen Klopp had already started rebuilding this squad in the climax, after the climax of his project that ended up with them winning with the Champions League in 2019 and the Premier League title in 2020 during the COVID season. So after that, we saw the departures of players like Sadio Mane, who left and joined Bayern Munich. We saw Roberto Firmino leaving. We saw Fabinho leaving in the subsequent seasons. You get, and then eventually their captain Jordan Henderson left. Gini Wijnaldum left the club. He left, I think, for PSG, and then so like that. So they lost that core of the team, and they started on rebuilding. When they started, they brought in players like Darwin Núñez, Cody Gakpo, Ryan Gravenberch, because he was signed last season from Bayern Munich, Alexis McAllister, Luis Diaz. All these are players that were brought in to rebuild that project under Jurgen Klopp. However, Jurgen Klopp decided to hang his boots and call it quits. That was last season, and he left the club at the end of the season and came in Arne Slot, who I think inherited a very good squad that had competed for the Premier League title last season and managed only to finish third as Man City went on to win it ahead of Arsenal. Now, Liverpool still had the spine of the team in their number one goalkeeper, Alson Ramsey-Becker, a backup goalkeeper in Kelleher who was equally good, a spine of the team where you did have your two fullbacks, very, very crucial in that Liverpool team, Andy Robertson and Alexander Trent-Arnold, and then one of the best centre-backs in Premier League history, in Virgil van Dijk, of course, alongside with his partner, Ibrahim Konate, who, of course, suffered, an injury or two during the course of the campaign, but that notwithstanding. So for me, the spine of that backline was still available, with the two fullbacks and the main centre-back in the captain, Virgil van Dijk, and the number one goalkeeper in Alson Ramsey-Becker. And then, when it comes to midfield, of course, most of the faces were new. Ryan Gravenberch, McAllister, Dominic Szoboszlai, then even the substitute in Wataru Endo was also signed last season, and that kind of thing. That was new. They were new. But McAllister was not new to the Premier League. It was Endo, Szoboszlai, and Gravenberch that were new to the Premier League. But even be that as of it may, they had a full season's worth of playing together to try and gel. So that was also a factor. Then, look at their forward lines led by Mohamed Salah, who arguably has had the best campaign he's ever had in England, at least in my eyes. A goal contribution of 46 now, 18 assists and 28 Premier League goals. Then, alongside him was Luis Diaz, already had fitted into this team, Cody Gakpo in there, Darwin Núñez in there, not the best of strikers because he does miss so many chances, but nonetheless a very good player. Diego Jota, never mind his injury troubles, but whenever he's been available, he's really turned up the goods. How many times has he come into a game and won Liverpool the match? So that core team for me was very important because it was really, really good. And it had experience. It had players with experience, players that had been at the club when they won those major trophies in 2019 and 2020. Then the manager in himself, that's Arne Slot, also had experience, having won a league title before with Feyenoord, that is in the Dutch Eredivisie. So Arne Slot had won a league before with Feyenoord in 2023. Now, the Dutch Eredivisie is in no comparison big as a league as the Premier League is. But that kind of experience cannot be discredited because a manager that has gone on to be given a bit of stick because Arne Slot has also won a Premier League title in his debut season, pretty much like the likes of Carlo Ancelotti, the likes of Antonio Conte and Jose Mourinho, all at Chelsea. And then you had Manuel Pellegrini at Man City, and then Arsene Wenger winning a double in his first full season, because remember he came in October 96, so it was half season, but in his first full season, he went on to win the cup double, the FA Cup and the Premier League. So the manager that has gotten a bit of stick has been Mikel Arteta, because people are wondering how Arne Slot beat him to winning the Premier League when he's been in that Arsenal project for the last 5 years. Well, this is Mikel Arteta's first job. as manager. Yes, it may take as long as it may take, but he has zero experience in regards to winning a league title. But Arne Slot had done that with Feyenoord in 2023. So I do think that in itself was a factor, or one of the reasons as to why he was able to guide this Liverpool side to clinch the Premier League title. Remember, like we say, Liverpool competed for this same league title last season and finished third. Yes, we are talking about a Liverpool side that finished third on the Premier League table last season with a tally of 82 points, 9 behind the eventual leaders, Manchester City, who finished with 91 points, and 7 behind a second place Arsenal, who finished at 89 points. So for me, that is a team that nearly won the league last season. That's a team that, by the way, finished 14 points ahead of a fourth placed Aston Villa last season, because Aston Villa had 68 points at the end of the season. So when we say that it's no fluke, really, we're talking about a team that last season really did compete favorably, and they just needed that manager that was going to take them over the line. Unfortunately for the likes of Arsenal, but fortunately for the likes of Liverpool, it was Arne Slot, the Dutchman, who guided this Liverpool side to the triumph of this season's Premier League title. So that's the other reason that I do think that having a good manager with experience, having a good squad that still had its spine was really good. Then the other thing that we cannot discount is luck. And hear me out. How does luck play in? For me, I do believe in luck in combination with hard work. For all the hard work that Liverpool have done, they've been lucky that some of their supposed competitors have fallen away. They've fallen off the wagon. While injuries may be one of the reasons as why the competitors have fallen away in Man City and Arsenal, bearing in mind that when Man City lost Rodri to that long-term injury, they were never the same team across the entire campaign overall by their own standards. And then Arsenal losing key players to injury during the course of the season, players like Bukayo Saka, Martin Odegaard, Kai Havertz, Gabriel Jesus, and that kind of thing really did not really help their efforts. So overall, I do get the feeling that Liverpool had luck on their side. And then those games that they won at the death of it, okay, that's a combination of hard work and luck, because on another day you draw that game and you drop points. The other thing about luck is that whenever Liverpool drop points, their competitors equally drop points in most cases. In most cases, look at times when Arsenal have drawn games, or Liverpool went on to drop a point or two. You get. Whenever Liverpool dropped those points, and people had hoped that maybe, it's now Arsenal's chance to go ahead and win and close that gap. Yeah, they tried to close the gap on one or two occasions, but all the other occasions, they failed at it. Recently, they had a game against Crystal Palace. They could have reduced that gap. They squandered that opportunity and dropped more 2 points. So, as we speak, Liverpool are 15 points ahead of a second-placed Arsenal, because their tally is at what? 82 points, while Arsenal at 67. Now Arsenal is the second-placed team. Trust me, as bad as a season that you may want to judge it by any measure, looking at the likes of Tottenham Hotspur, the likes of Manchester United, how far they've been off this season, looking at how much Man City fell off the wagon, the surprise of Nottingham Forest's resurgence, Aston Villa trying to keep up, Newcastle being resurgent, Arsenal sort of falling in the trenches in regards to that competition. Liverpool are 15 points ahead of the second place team. So trust me, it has been with no fluke. It has been a combination of both hard work and a bit of luck whenever they needed it during the course of the campaign. So for me, that has equally been a factor as to why this Liverpool team went on to win the Premier League title. So those are some of my reasons as to why Liverpool have been able to be crowned champions of the Premier League title with 4 games to spare. Of course, they will get the chance to be handed that trophy in front of their home crowd, something that they were unable to do for the 2019-2020 season because of the COVID-19 restrictions. And then, of course, at the end of the season, they will go ahead and do arguably one of the biggest trophy parades that you will ever hear of in history. So, Liverpool fans, enjoy this trophy. You really deserved it. Nobody played better than you. In any case, Liverpool have been at the top of that league table for the longest time. So let nobody claim it that they had a chance, because Liverpool showed intent and they kept that fire burning until the final minutes. Besides, in 2018, Man City went on to win the Premier League title, I think with a disparity of over 18 or 19 points ahead of a second place team. Well, Liverpool still have that opportunity to extend that record and even beat it, because Arsenal are 15 points behind with 4 games to spare. That's 12 points to really fight for. And who do Liverpool have to play? They still have to play Arsenal at Anfield. So clearly, if they want to pursue history as well, it is there for the taking. It is still in their hands. Otherwise, what else do they have to left to play for? It's the history, the records, because they've already clinched the title. Anyways, those are my views for now. Allow me cut it here and wish you a wonderful rest of the time. And do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Let's meet in tomorrow's morning broadcast there, and we speak matters UEFA Champions League that will be coming our way on Tuesday night with Arsenal, the PSG. Keep it locked on the Football Tribe UG channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.